3 a.m., and I get yanked from sleep by the sound of my whole life splintering apart. Not a metaphor. Real, actual, screaming wood and metal. My fence getting torn to pieces out front. I'm still half in some weird dream, and next thing I know, I'm on the porch in my boots and boxers, breath fogging in the floodlights, staring at three figures. Not just any vandals, either. Nope, these are three of my own neighbors. More specifically, three heads of the HOA board. Sledgehammers swinging, faces set, like they're tearing down a criminal empire instead of some tired, colorful ranch fence. 6 months of my soul, and the colors my grandpa picked out, all getting pulverized while I stand there, helpless in the Texas night. You ever feel that, like the universe just sucker punched you, and you can't even breathe? Yeah, that was me. And I'm not going to lie for a second, I froze. Because you don't expect to see your own community, people who wave at you at the mailbox, become a wrecking crew at 3 in the morning. But here we are. I should back up, huh? Name's Wade. 52 years old, third-generation rancher, stubborn enough to make a mule blush. And until this week, I thought the hardest thing in my life was keeping the ranch afloat and trying not to stress my pregnant wife, Sarah. But I'll tell you, nothing prepares you for war like the one waged over a turquoise and orange fence. See, that fence, it wasn't just paint. It was my grandpa's racing colors from when he was king of the quarter-horse circuit. Every post, hand-carved with little horses, vintage ranch signs restored till my knuckles bled. Sarah called it our rainbow fence. Said it made her smile every morning, walking out with her hand on her belly, hoping this baby would finally stick. First kid, late in life. And we'd given up before that pink line showed up on the test. So maybe I took it a little personally when the HOA president, Vivian Blackwood, rolled up one Saturday, dropped a violation notice in my hand, and told me, stone-faced, my fence violated community aesthetics. Her perfume probably cost more than my week's groceries. At first, I laughed. I mean, really, my ranch was here before their subdivision, before any of these folks were out of diapers. But Vivian wasn't joking. She came armed with a folder as thick as a Dallas phone book, quoting bylaws about tone aesthetics, and gave me 30 days to repaint. Beige or brown. Or else. Well, or else turn out to be 3 a.m. sledgehammers and a whole new world of pain. That's the thing about people like Vivian. They don't just play by the rules, they bend them, twist them, then make you feel like you're the crazy one. She thought she could bully me out of fence, but what she didn't know, I'm a rancher with nothing left to lose. That's a dangerous man. So, I got mad, real mad, but I didn't just stew about it. Grandpa always said, when somebody's pushing you this hard, there's a reason. Find it. So I started digging. Down at the courthouse, under those god-awful fluorescent lights, I pored over every dusty file, every property record I could get my hands on. And wouldn't you know it, the very document Vivian waved in my face, her covenant, missing signatures, not worth the paper it was printed on. But that wasn't all. See, Vivian's husband, Marcus, runs the First National downtown. Turns out, every family on our road who got hit with an HOA violation, foreclosure warning right after. Quiet little pattern, pressure him to sell, buy the house cheap through some shell company, flip it, move on. Rinse, repeat. It's about then the real twist dropped on my lap. My buddy Jake, been my neighbor and friend for years. He shows up with a manila envelope and a look on his face like he'd swallowed a nail. Turns out, he signed off on my original fence complaint weeks before Vivian even started hounding me. Why? Because his kid got offered an internship at Vivian's law firm. Full ride if he played ball. I looked Jake in the eyes, and I saw a man who hated himself for what he did. I was so mad I could have spit nails, but there it was. Betrayed by a friend, sold out by a neighbor, all for the chance his son might get ahead. You ever had that? Somebody you trust just cracks under pressure? Anyway, I started gathering evidence. Documents, timelines, photos. Hell, even called in a favor from Sarah's friend Rita down at the county. Every rock I turned over, something slimy crawled out. Shell companies tied back to Vivian, foreclosure after foreclosure, and Marcus approving the mortgages for the right buyers. All that community talk, all those smiles, just cover for a property grab. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a stubborn rancher with more sweat than sense some days. But I did what Grandpa would have done. I fought smart. I hired Buck, a local attorney who wears boots to court and knows every Texas loophole in the book. Buck said, "Wade, we play this right, we go public. That's how you stop him." So I did. Neighborhood Facebook, WhatsApp, the works. Laid out the whole scam in plain English, photos, violations, timelines. And man, did it blow up. People started coming out of the woodwork. Turns out, I wasn't the only one targeted. Within a week, our community page had more members than the HOA's mailing list ever did. By the next week, Channel 7 News called. Vivian, of course, went ballistic. Next thing I know, our little war is front-page news. My fence becomes a symbol. Folks start painting their own mailboxes crazy colors. Yellow, purple, you name it. It's like a rainbow explosion down Meadowbrook Lane. Vivian sends out flyers. Wade Thornton is destroying property values. But it's too late. The neighborhood's found its backbone. But Vivian doesn't just quit. She calls in county code enforcement. Suddenly, every non-beige fence, every mailbox, gets slapped with a citation. But here's where karma gets interesting. Tommy, Jake's son, the one Vivian bought off, he shows up at my door. He's got guilt written all over him, and he's carrying a manila envelope of his own. He'd been working part-time at Vivian's firm and overheard calls, Vivian talking to county officials, planning which houses to hit next, all to fast-track her development plans. And here's where I go full detective. I figure out Vivian needs our private road, Meadowbrook Lane, to get her big development approved. If she can't get it, her whole empire crumbles. I talk to Florence, the sweet old lady who actually owns the road, and I make her an offer. Every cent we had, even dipped into the baby fund. Sarah nearly had a heart attack, but sometimes you gotta risk everything to save what matters. We buy the road. I shut it down, legit for repairs. Permits, insurance, the works. Vivian goes nuclear. Lawyers, threats, even hired a crisis PR team who tries to smear me as some unstable veteran. Me, the guy who pulled Pete Wilson's grandson out of a frozen creek 3 years ago. That one backfires hard. My neighbors rally, sharing stories online about every kindness, every time I fixed a gate or helped with a storm. Public opinion turns on Vivian like a busted faucet, and the clock's ticking. I find out she owes millions to investors. If she doesn't deliver that development on time, she loses everything. Her husband, Marcus, corners me at Miguel's Cafe, slides an envelope across the table. $300,000 to sell the road back. No questions asked. I tell him where he can stick it. Things get ugly. Threats, strangers poking around the ranch, Sarah getting scared. But I stand firm. Community meeting rolls around, and it's standing room only, neighbors, cameras, the whole circus. Vivian puts on a show, accuses me of all sorts of wild things, even drags Jake up to lie for her. But Buck, my attorney, he's ready, plays a recording of Marcus trying to bribe me. Then another, Vivian coaching witnesses. When Jake breaks down, tells the truth, Vivian snaps. She confesses everything right there in front of God and everybody. Cops cuff her on the spot. That was the moment, I swear, the whole place just exhaled. Months of fear gone. Applause, laughter, even a few tears. The county dissolves the HOA on the spot. The scam gets busted wide open. News crews everywhere. Vivian gets jail time. Marcus loses his bank, and the land ends up with a conservation group. Turns out, all those little victories, one neighbor, one fence at a time, they added up to a revolution. 6 months later, and our street is alive with color. Maria paints a welcome sign in every color you can imagine. My fence stands proud as ever, maybe even prouder. Neighbors have mailboxes that look like Skittles, and nobody's scared to wave anymore. We turned the road over to the community, set up a trust, made sure no one person could ever hold us hostage again. Funny thing is, the fence that almost ruined me? Now, every year we have fence day. Kids painting, neighbors grilling, and every brushstroke a little screw you to anyone who thinks they can bully a community for profit. Sarah and I, we're not just ranchers anymore. We help other folks fight back, set up a legal fund, a hotline. Jake found his redemption, too, leading projects to help elderly neighbors, painting houses, fixing roofs. The kid who was almost lost, Tommy, he graduated top of his class, on a scholarship this time. And our daughter, Emma, she took her first steps chasing butterflies past those same turquoise posts. Sometimes you win. Sometimes the little guy comes out on top. And sometimes all it takes is one person standing up, saying enough to remind a whole town who they really are. So let me ask you, now that you've heard my story, where do you draw the line? When does standing up become a duty, even if it costs you everything? Have you ever had to fight back against a bully? Maybe in your own neighborhood? Drop your story below. Maybe you've had a wild HOA nightmare, or maybe you're still in the middle of it. Either way, I'm listening. Because if there's one thing I learned, silence is how bullies win. But together, we're louder than any sledgehammer. What would you do if someone tried to erase your family's legacy with the swing of a hammer?